Good morning, good morning. Well, it might not be morning where you guys are coming from today, but I just wanted to hop on here for a little bit and say hello, kind of see how everybody was doing. But yeah, so it's morning for me. So I normally start my mornings waking up around like 4:30 in the morning, and then normally do appointments after that, starting at 5. But no appointments this morning, so it's actually kind of a slow morning. So I ended up working on a couple different things, and then wanted to jump on. So I know sometimes when I jump on like at a different time, I'm able to connect with people across the globe, or that's the UK, Australia, New Zealand, you name it, kind of all over the place. So just want to be on here, wanted to talk for a couple minutes. So be on here for about an hour, just talking about narcissism, how that's affected me, how that's affected you, be able to answer any questions about it, kind of walk through some stuff. But anyways, good to see everybody. Where's everybody from? So we had a lot of exciting things that have been going on the past couple days. Yesterday, lunchtime over there in Paris. That's awesome. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah. So last night we actually just had our first Zoom call with premium supporters in the Narc app. It was absolutely really cool. Had a really awesome opportunity just to be able to interact with a lot of different people and be able to engage, be able to see people like face to face, but like in a group setting was really cool. So it's not like a webinar, but an actual like Zoom communication, everything. But it was really neat. We got to meet with about 7 different survivors and people that are in the middle of trying to figure out how they get out, how they work through everything that's going on. It was absolutely fantastic. It was really cool. Awesome. UK, Detroit, East Coast, Australia. Hello. Sweden, Virginia. Hey, I'm in Virginia. We're actually coming up Virginia Beach, Virginia. We're actually going to be doing a meet and greet, myself and Mental Healness, coming up June 12th. We're kind of waiting on some of the details to come out. We're trying to lock down some locations and stuff like that, but plan to actually do an in-person meet and greet. So myself and then Lee Hammock, Mental Healness, is going to be up here, Virginia Beach, Virginia, for at least a little bit of time, June 12th. But yeah, more details about that coming. If you guys haven't had a chance to be able to check out, I've got some links in my bio, or if you already follow Lisa Stronger Than Before, she's got a pretty awesome webinar that's going to be coming up. It's how to like keep your sanity when co-parenting with a toxic ex. Co-parenting is a big issue and a big craziness out there for a lot of people who are in those toxic relationships, and they're not sure how to be able to navigate it. They're not sure how to be able to work through all the ups and downs of the co-parenting aspect. So if you want to check that out, because that's something that I'm really excited about. So I'm not in it, but I'm attending it and want to be able to help support her and be able to learn, as best I can about like the co-parenting aspect. So check that out, because that's gonna be some really awesome stuff. She's got a lot of awesome people coming on the panel to be able to talk about that. But yeah, just a lot of different things that have been happening. Like I mentioned, we had the monthly Zoom call with the app the other day. We're working on adjusting and changing more stuff in the app. If you haven't had a chance to be able to check it out, it's called the Narc app, NARC, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community. And those were really excited to be able to get out there. We just had a new course drop this past month that was on boundaries. So learning how to establish boundaries, learning what good and bad boundaries look like, things like that. So there's been a lot of cool changes kind of coming down the pipe, and many more coming down as well. All right. So Ada had you put here, well, why would he ignore the messages but not block? So a lot of times a narcissist or a toxic person might try to ignore, what you're putting out there to be able to make you feel bad, to kind of manipulate you, or kind of almost do even like a reverse Hoover. Like if I keep ignoring, maybe they'll keep reaching out, or maybe they'll keep trying to contact me, different things like that. Brussels. Okay. West Virginia. Awesome. All over the place. Let's see. Did I miss another? Nope. Okay. Why? Oh, why is he even unblocked? Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, the biggest thing that's going to help with your growth is being able to go no contact with the narcissist, being able to go a place that you aren't in contact with them at all. And so no contact means like completely like blocking, completely blocking so that there's not a way for them to reach out, for them to contact. Because if they can, they will. And oftentimes they do. And whenever they reach out, it's just like you're ripping off that band-aid time and time again, exposing the wound over and over and over again. And it doesn't get a chance to heal. It doesn't get a chance to actually like work through the process of going through the pain, going through the frustration, the guilt, the anger, the hurt, and get back to a place of where healing is actually there. How do you deal with kids having a narc husband? So one of the biggest things, like with kids, when you're on the opposite end of like, the relationship and the other person is a narcissist, is really providing a safe place for your kids, a safe place for that environment. And I don't just mean like physically, mainly I mean mentally and emotionally. Because a lot of times you have kids that grow up in households where they don't feel like it's okay to be able to express like their emotions, to be able to express what's actually going on. And for a narcissist or borderline, they have shame in that aspect and even like abandonment issues that they want to be able to push down and to be able to hide. And whenever they bring something up and it seems like it's like shamed or it's like put away, it's like, okay, this isn't a safe place for me to bring that up. This isn't a safe place for me to engage on that level. And so they pull away, like disappear. So on that aspect, like really try to be that emotional support for them. Why, when they force you to discard, do they want to come back? I kept blocking and he still drives by my house. Yeah. A lot of times they'll develop that obsession where they still want to interact with you, not because they want you, not because they love you, but because they want to control you still. How does anyone ever cover from this abuse? No, absolutely. That's a big question. So a lot of times what it is you got to work through the trauma bond. You have to get out of that bond that's pulling you back to your abuser. You have to work on detox and getting through limbo land, helping you get to the place of saying like, hey, I'm okay without this person. I don't need this person, even though it feels withdrawal symptoms, either physically, mentally, emotionally. And then just working through what set up as far as goals, vision, values. How do we work on continuing to grow forward and to work on ourselves? That's through therapy, through coaching, through all different types of stuff. And that's what I work with people every single day is through those three sections: the trauma bond, working through limbo land, and then working to grow and continue to move forward. He has another girlfriend, but consistently tries to meet up, and I finally shut it down. Oops, I missed the first part. Let's see. Why does he say I'm having animosity towards him when I just want to be left alone and move on? Yeah, so they're gonna try to change everything around. They're gonna try to blame you for anything that they're doing, for anything of how they're feeling or anything like that. So a lot of times that's projection. A lot of times it's like mirroring, trying to like flip stuff around, be able to put the blame on you. They don't care about what's going on. They just don't want to feel bad, and so as a result, they'll put it back on anybody. EMDR therapy helps. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a fan of EMDR therapy. I was in it for a period of time. It helped me. My wife did EMDR for a while, and that was helpful for her as well. So if you haven't had a chance to be able to check it out, EMDR is great for dealing with trauma, dealing with abuse, dealing with working through like the trauma in the back of your mind that you don't even always realize is even like trauma or realize is even there, and being able to work through that and help reduce how it impacts you, reduce like how it feels, I think is huge. Anytime I've ended the relationship and blocked him, he will call me from other phone numbers over and over. He'll show up at my house and let himself in. I will ask him to leave and he refuses. Yeah. Like with that, I would definitely start calling the cops. Like if it's something where you're married and he's on the house, then you got to see about going that direction and getting divorced. If it's something where he's just someone who keeps coming in, like a boyfriend or, a person like that, then, you might have to call the cops to be able to get that. Is NPD attracted to people with BPD? I am recovered and just ended a relationship with an NPD person because of the gaslighting lies and double life. So I was talking to someone the other day that they got out of a relationship, a 15-year relationship, and he was someone who had with someone who had BPD, and then she ended up being with another narcissist. And I think there's an aspect that NPD and BPD do have times that they attract each other. And if you kind of think of it in I don't know, almost like an engineering sense, I guess. So like with magnets or something, it's almost like they're like polar opposites, but if you get them just right, it'll actually create momentum. And I would say, in one sense, almost like if they're in sync, like it'll just keep going. It'll keep like perpetuating itself because both people, with their insecurities and with their overt tendencies, end up kind of feeding into each other. Oftentimes, it just keeps going and accentuating it more and more and more. Do I have any other diagnosis? No, I don't. What is your take on a children's minister being a narcissist? Does it happen? Yes, absolutely. Can happen with anybody. Do they know that they have a problem when they put the blame on you? A lot of times it's like they don't want to acknowledge they're very low in the shame, and I need to put it on someone. I need to put someone in that moment that's a lot faster. That's a lot easier to blame you than it is to be able to take that on my problem. If I have that guilt, if I have that shame, I need to blame on the other person as quick as I can. Is it like a reverse Hoover when they unblocked you, but that's it? He replied, "It's okay, we'll talk later. I still wait 2 weeks now, nothing." I would say yes. I would say they're just sitting there waiting. They're waiting for you to contact them, maybe because that's what you normally do. Maybe that's how they normally interact. But typically, when you walk back in. I can no longer tell the difference between intuition and paranoia, but I've never been wrong. Yeah, no, I mean, continue to work on growing and learning, and as people grow and learn, get their confidence and their self worth back, and also just knowing like what's going on with it, they start to build that intuition back up. Do narcissists take everything personal? Yeah, a lot of times criticism. A lot of times criticism and someone else's feelings. A lot of times they'll take as an attack or they'll take as an idea of rejection, which underlying that kind of hits like the primal fear of like abandonment. Why did he meet me just to manipulate into thinking I'm the problem? So he didn't have to feel it, so he could put it back on you and not have to like internalize it himself. Does it have to do with people's childhood? Yes. So narcissism typically comes from trauma, abuse, overbearing parents, over controlling parents, over enabling parents. Yeah, no, absolutely. I found my guy looking up prostitutes in the area where he's staying. He's adamant that he didn't do anything, but he got so angry he threw me out for breaching his privacy and checking his stuff. Had a good talk last night, but no idea what to believe. Honestly, I don't trust him because he lied about another woman in the beginning of a relationship. It's so hard to let go. A lot of times when you're trying to hold on to the beginning, or you're trying to hold on to hope or potential. If you hold on to hope, potential, or the cognitive dissonance, so the idea of looking at it and seeing this happen and him saying it didn't happen, that's manipulation and that's abuse. And so that combined with hope, combined with potential, will oftentimes keep you in that relationship longer than what you should, because you think that something's going to change when the actions have shown from the beginning of the relationship, even in what you've said there, that they haven't. And if someone's adamantly like lying to you about things that they're doing, it doesn't matter if they're a narcissist or a toxic person. Like if they're not willing to tell the truth, you have no foundation to build a relationship. Your relationship is doomed for failure, doomed for abuse, anything like that, because a relationship has to be based on truth. If it's not, like what are you falling in love with? What are you actually believing? So, Michelle, that would be some of my answer for even like a trauma bond is, not holding on to that hope, not holding on to that potential, not holding on to the cognitive dissonance that keeps you trapped in a trauma bond. So, like when I work with people on a day to day basis, it's trying to work through how do we break that trauma bond, is dealing with the facts and dealing with the truth of the situation. A lot of times, the problem is it takes a lot of people a while to be able to get down underneath the surface and figure out what is the story, what is the thought that they're actually believing underneath it to try to be able to help change that. He says he's telling the truth, but he becomes filled with rage and attacks me. Normally, people who are telling the truth don't have to, attack, rage out, and, get mad, you know, like get mad about telling the truth. I'm guessing they're probably not. Does every narcissistic person cheat? I say yes. I say they're going to cheat on some level. They're going to put someone or something above you, hands down, every single time. This time he's really strong and no contact because I did something he hates. Good. Make sure you block and stay no contact. My recent ex narcissist has blocked me. I don't understand why. You see, if a narcissist blocks you, it gives them power. Like they still have control. One, because they either ended the relationship, they either caused it to happen first, so they don't have the fear of abandonment because you didn't leave them. They're the one that left you. And they can always come back. And they can always come back because any single time they can go through and they can unblock and they can reach back out. So, like when you ask that question of how do I know he is done, he's done when you're done. Like until you're done, until you close that door, lock it and bolt it, the door to your heart, the door to him coming back into your life, he's going to keep coming back or she's going to keep coming back time and time again. And yes, I know I'm talking about the majority. There's a few that don't come back. And so if you're one of the people that they haven't come back, don't think that has anything to do with your worth because it doesn't, because they never cared to start off with. Covert narc in particular don't go back to supply, but just moved on. Once they discarded you, they're done old supply. A lot of times they will move on. Okay. I would say probably, in my opinion, I would say 90% come back, 10% move on. It's always best to be prepared just in case. But the thing that you have to remember is that you can't put the responsibility on them to move on and not contact you. A lot of times people, say like, hey, we've been broken up. Like, I don't understand why they keep coming back. I keep telling them not to. Like, the reason they keep coming back is because you keep letting them. You keep the door open. You can't keep the door open. Why do you need to be right? So a narcissist doesn't want to admit that they're wrong ever. Like for me, it was like physically, like it felt physically impossible to actually say the words, I am wrong. It was a lot easier to do like anything else, to say anything else, to blame anybody else, to do anything but actually admit I am wrong. Because admitting that I'm wrong admits that there's some form of like guilt and shame underlying the surface that says, hey, you have to take responsibility for these actions. You have to take accountability for what you just did. But if I did that in the moment, if I took accountability, the guilt and the shame would be so overwhelming that I would blame it on someone else that I would run away. And so it became an idea and a thought that it's not safe and it's not able for me to be wrong because I didn't know how to process that. Narcissists have emotions. The problem is they don't know how to regulate that and they don't know how to have the emotional maturity to be able to work through those and be able to handle those and not have those emotions control them. Going on 16 days, no verbal contact. Have to text because of kids. I'm worried about upcoming events, graduation, dance recitals. I have to serve divorce papers and scared to serve prior to events. Yeah, no, absolutely. I would definitely like work with your lawyer to kind of work through that. If you go through the lawyer process and get to the place of going like the full no contact, there's a couple apps that can help with that communication. So one is Talking Parents app, Our Family Wizard, We Parent, and App Close. And then another one that I just learned about the other day, it's a little bit more expensive from what I heard, but it's called Civil Communicator Service. And it has something along the lines of where you log in and communicate through a service. And there's like from what I heard, there's a team of people that actually read the messages. And if they come across as manipulative or abusive, they kick it back to the person. They say, hey, you have to rewrite it. Super interesting. That's all I know about it. So I don't have a ton of info. But Talking Parents app, Our Family Wizard, We Parent, App Close, and Civil Communicator Service. Some of those are ones that survivors that you guys have recommended for other people to look at because they've been helpful for people. How to not fall for another NPD person when you know you're attracted to this type of abusive relationship. So the first question is, you have to look at yourself and be like, why am I attracted to this type of relationship? Most of the time, people that are attracted to narcissists or to that type of abusive relationship is because they came up in that type of household. They came up in a household that make them feel like shit all the time. that put them through abuse and trauma all the time. So when you look at that, part of the reason why you're attracted to that is because what you're feeling and experiencing when you're with that person, you think is normal. You think is like the norm. You think that this is regular. Like the lies, the gaslighting, the manipulating, the ups and downs, the back and forth, like all of that, the cognitive dissonance goes back and forth and gets to the place where you say, like, hey, this feels normal. But in reality, it's not. And the part that you have to understand is like if you're attracted to the narcissist, if you're attracted to people with those traits, you have to detox and you have to get away from them and you have to not go back, but you have to like stay single for a while so you can make sure that you actually recenter yourself. Because if you're attracted to that and you get out of that, you're going to get to a place where you're going to detox. Like literally, you're going to have like physical, mental, emotional like symptoms and pain, like being away from that narcissistic person because you've been in an addictive relationship because that's how it felt normal, because of past childhood events, because of multiple different things. I did a YouTube video the other day on was it like types of people that the narcissists are attracted to, you know, and one of those is the idea of people that were brought up in narcissistic households because they normalized what happened. They normalized and thought like this was love. And so when they get into a relationship with a narcissistic person or they're looking for a narcissistic person because they're like, hey, this is what I identify with. This is what love feels like. But it doesn't. Why would you tell me to move on and get a new boyfriend, then get angry when I move on? Because you're still theirs. They view you as objects. Like it's possessive. So like I can move on, but you're not allowed to move on because you're still supposed to want me. Okay. When narcissists be really nice, does that mean they want something from you? I would say yeah, typically. My covert, back admitting wrongs and change. I don't see the change and blocked. I've done too much work on self-doubting. Covert, I get lost in how charming or apologetic. Yeah. Focus on the actions, not the words. So they're very good in that aspect. So can narcs ever have a healthy marriage relationship? For what I've seen, it's unachievable. So yeah, if a narcissist is unwilling to be honest, vulnerable, or work on changing, then no, like having a healthy relationship is impossible because they're not willing to be fully known. They can't be fully loved because they're not willing to be honest. They can't build a foundation of a relationship. So yeah, I've completely gone no contact for 5+ months. He's still trying to reach out, even calling my job, which he didn't have the number for. I'm turned off by him now, but so hard to trust other men now. Yeah, continue to work on growing your confidence and growing, like establishing your boundaries. Boundaries of like what you're going to tolerate going forward. Now, when you get into a relationship, like make sure when you start off, you're not communicating everything you want in a person, but you're trying to assess and see, like, hey, is this person real? Do they actually want the same things? My art got worse with social media and politics. Yeah, a lot of times that'll pull that out too. I think the hardest part is honestly ever letting anyone else in a romantic capacity. How do you not feel scared it will happen again? There's definitely going to be that fear that it could happen again. The thing is, as you continue to learn about narcissism, as you continue to grow in what you're understanding and learning now, you get to the place where you start building up your boundaries and your walls, not just to keep people out, but also to keep you safe. To keep you to the place of saying like, hey, like this is my boundary, and like if you're going to live in my life, if you're going to be a part of my life, you're going to learn to appreciate those. If you don't want to appreciate those, that's totally fine. You can appreciate that with someone else. And so like setting boundaries, setting goals, setting future, setting focus, setting clarity, setting direction is really key. And then having someone that comes alongside and helps you reach those goals gives you more confidence in what you're doing versus someone that's pulling you away from those. So it says that narcissists don't love. So narcissists can't love when they're so focused on themselves. So I mentioned earlier, like a person can't be fully loved if they're not fully known. Like a narcissist won't acknowledge or let people know who they actually are. And a narcissist won't lower the mask to show people who they actually are. And so for a narcissist, it's not just like they don't have self-love, but they have self-consumption where they're focused on themselves and everything they want for themselves. So a narcissist can't love until they start taking themselves out of the way, until they start removing their own mask. and acknowledge other people. Currently gray rocking with my ex. We have a child together. Advice on how to respond. Yeah, so gray rocking is a good way. You have to be careful with gray rocking. I normally try to say this whenever I talk about gray rocking, is I say gray rocking works 50% of the time. The other 50%, it just pisses them off even more and makes them like worse. So like be careful with that. But yeah, if you're gray rocking and it's like starting to work or you're starting to see that progress, then the biggest thing on like how to respond is, as calm as possible, because they're looking for a reaction. Like they want you to respond. They want you to react. How's a narc behaves when it gets rejected? Oh, when the other person goes no contact. Frustrated, like mad, pissed off, or to spiral out because they lost control of a person. Um, I keep my narcissistic ex because we go to the same social events after 6 on no contact. Is this hoovering? Okay, after 6 months of no comment, we go to the same social events. Is this hoovering? It might be. No, there's a high possibility. Like if they always went to the same social events before you, then maybe not as much of a hoovering, but I wouldn't trust it not to be. I find that gray rocking feels like a narc. So, I mean, gray rocking in one sense is not that you're shutting off all your emotions and feelings. It's saying, like, hey, I'm not going to engage with this person who's purposely trying to piss me off, who's purposely trying to get me to react, who's purposely trying to control me. Like, I'm not going to be controlled by another person. That's really what the thought is. Learning this exists and it's so freaking true. After researching into his actions, literally saved me from feeling completely insane and stressed. The traits are so obvious once you know it. It's wild. Yeah, absolutely. He still has stuff in our condo. How can I say to him to get it without him being offended and stop paying the rent? That's a good one. You're going to get to the place where you're going to have to go no contact and he's going to have to stop paying the rent, to be honest. So if it's something that you're buying time and you're working on your exit strategy, then I wouldn't really say anything. If he's not like contacting you, if he's paying the rent until you're working on getting on your feet. But otherwise, like you have to prepare that you're going to have to go that route. It's not going to work long term. How he treated me, but then it turned into, this isn't all about me apologizing. What do you think you could do better? And it just became very accusatory and blaming. I don't understand why. So they're not going to apologize. They're not going to actually, turn it over saying like they did something wrong. They're going to push it back on you every single time. Like they don't want to feel that. They don't want to acknowledge that. Is this science or spiritual in your opinion? As far as like narcissism, I don't think like narcissism is like demonic or anything like that. And I think there's science behind it as well, as far as like development and stuff like that. But it does come from, I believe, the situation. It comes from the abuse, from the trauma, from the lack of emotional support, overbearing parents, over enabling parents. That's what brings up and causes that narcissism in it. Even with the actual photo proof, they will lie and blame you for being sneaky. Yeah, absolutely. Or they blame you for invading their privacy because you caught them on something. Someone who I suspect is a narcissist sends a text once in 2 months. Then when I reply and try to make a conversation, he ghosts me. Any idea why he's doing that? I'm not sure, but I can tell you this: they don't care about you. So stop texting them. Focus on people that are going to uplift you, that are going to encourage you, that are going to help you achieve your goals and dreams and move forward. But the person that you're putting out effort and they're unwilling to put any effort into it isn't worth your time. Don't be fooled by the fake apology. I'm sorry that you feel that way. It's not an apology. Absolutely. No, it's not an apology. That's fake. So an apology without change behavior is just manipulation. They're just trying to keep you longer. They're just trying to extend their stay in an abusive relationship. Could people find out if they're a narcissist on their own? Typically not. Mutual friends are believing his story, saying I'm obsessed with them, losing friends. You're going to lose friends going through a narcissistic relationship, unfortunately, especially either the mutual ones that don't believe you or unwilling to look at your side of the story. He's constantly comparing tragedies. He left me my whole pregnancy, no help, constantly criticizing. A lot of times they'll do that. My husband is abusive. I guess I'm trying to make it not his fault. If he's abusive, it's his fault, period. It's nothing you're doing. It's his fault. Get out. I'm stuck in a trauma bond. I don't know how to get out. I love him and have kids. So the trauma bond is you're holding on to hope and potential. You're not looking oftentimes at the reality of the situation. You're not looking at the consistent behavior. Then you're not saying like, hey, there's no honesty, there's no vulnerability, there's no change. There's just the thought of change, the gaslighting about it, the future faking about it. I'd love to be able to talk to you to try to help you work through like that actual story so you understand like what's underneath the feelings, the emotions, to figure out the story that you're telling yourself, the facts, and then the new story to be able to replace that, to reduce that trigger and to help you heal and grow. Is it a thing to ask to hang out after a year just to see if you're still open to them? Then not then not FaceTime. Uh, is it just Is it just a thing to ask to hang out after a year just to see if you're still open to them? Yes, absolutely. They don't want you. They don't want anyone else to have you. Yep. 2 months no contact. Awesome. My trainer reached out to him asking questions if I was asking, not happy. Yeah, that's not cool. If your trainer's doing that, then you need to have a talk with your trainer. If they do it again, then you're done with that relationship. Difference between emotionally immature and narcissists. I would say like the manipulation. Emotional immaturity oftentimes doesn't have like the adept like gaslighting, manipulation, that kind of thing. By the end of a 20-year, he's established social smearing by friends, all my high school friends. Yeah. He is now claiming I'm the abuser after I filed a restraining order and it did not uphold. They're gonna smear and they're gonna try. And the more you try to fight back on a smear campaign, the more it makes you look like the crazy person because they're already constructing that on the other way. Tips on how you go no contact when you share a child. One, use either a parenting app. Two, use either a third party to communicate, period. Use a third party for drop offs, for switching stuff around, get it into the papers, get it into through the lawyer. But you can go, I know parents that are completely no contact because of how toxic the relationship is. Like they absolutely have zero contact. They never see them. They never talk to them. The communication is done through a third party or through an app to try to be able to help with that. A lot of times people are like, we have kids. There's no way I can go no contact. I can give you many examples of people that are that way. I'm not saying everybody has to do it that way, and I'm not saying that's the only way, but I know many people that are no contact. I had someone the other day that felt bad for the idea of going no contact. And I was like, would you feel bad if you were like physically beat? And they were like, no. And I was like, well, that's what happened. You just didn't realize it because there's emotional trauma. How do they just move on and act like you don't exist? Married 7 years and still married, and he has a new supply with our neighbor in our family home. It's like he just replaced me. That's tough. I know. They move on because they box you up. They compartmentalize and they move you to the back of the mind so they don't have to think of you, so they don't have to feel the guilt, so they don't have to feel the shame of what they're actually doing. And so they continue pressing forward, continue moving on to try to reduce that. And so in reality, like what it is a replacement. They're replacing you by boxing you up and putting you away so they don't have to acknowledge it. It's hard to know if it's truly change, even if the actions are there. Are they being honest currently? And are they being vulnerable currently? Vulnerability is not anything about the past. It's not about their trauma. It's not about the things that have happened in the past. It's on the here and now, every single day, what they're feeling, what they're going through, how they're working through therapy. Are they in therapy? How are they changing? All those things add up. Really, really struggling with the trauma bond. I know exactly what he is, but I can't seem to break it. That's because it's a story that you're telling yourself. And so, like, what I work with people every single day is I work with helping them understand and find the story that they're thinking underneath the feelings, underneath the emotions to figure out what's going on. And then from there, we try to work on rewiring the brain, rewiring that story so that when the things pop up, you don't get triggered by it. When narcissists be really nice to me, they want something from you. Typically, yes. Will he leave me alone as long as he's with someone else? Oftentimes for a little bit, but don't count on it. Sent me his location. I asked him to come and see me, and he didn't. He ignored it. If you guys are separated, no contact, you probably sent the location to the wrong person. Can they turn into psychopaths and murder? Yeah. After 15 years, married, 9 and 3 children, I found out a 5-year affair with a girl half my age and started to see all the trauma and abuse he put me through. Divorces are served. Stay strong. It's going to get more difficult before it gets easier, but it is easier once you get through it. Dealt with the same stuff. Record and proof. I'm all in case you need it. File a harassment charge. My local police told me. I love no contact. With no contact, I'm completely aware of smear attempts or what he's doing. Very true. Or any Hoover attempts. Best way to break the trauma bond. I'm oblivious as I genuinely heal for the first time. No contact is huge. If you're not no contact, a lot of times you can't heal. Can people heal and grow together after narcissistic abuse? Like, can they be with a narcissist and healing? No. He hasn't seen me in 2 years, even though he knows I want him. What do I do? You need to change the story that's in your head because you're wanting a fantasy and you're wanting to go back to abusive relationship. Is having a split personality one of the signs of narcissism? No, it's not. Does the smear campaign get less after the divorce is final? The smear campaign gets less the less attention it's given. Struggling with trauma bond and need guidance. How much? Okay. Yeah. So you can go on to my website. It's the easiest way to just be able to see like the different options. And go to rawmotivations.com, or you can click the link in any of my bios and you can grab a one-on-one there. So I've got 30-minute, 60-minute, and also like coaching packages that I work with people to try to help them work through different processes, try to work to give them like the tools and then coach them on how to use the tools so that they can work on getting free and being free consistently, not just like a quick fix or a one-time thing. I can't go no contact due to our child. She purposely isolated me, left me raising her and my child. No, she won't leave me alone, wants to forget the past so she can co-parent. Co-parent now when, sorry, I'm trying to like read it all here. When she couldn't co-parent when we lived together, I do more than my fair share for my son and she wants more. And if I don't give, I'm purposely being awkward. I can't heal if I can't get away. If she can be happy and be nice now than she could have all along. So this is more of abuse, as if to say, see, you could have had. Yeah. So one of the things to be able to understand is like at the end of the relationship or when the relationship changes or things like that, what you'll see is like you get ready to leave, you get ready to block, you get ready to push them out or whatever it might be. And all of a sudden things change. All of a sudden it looks completely different. All of a sudden they're like, oh, well, let me act this way. And you're like, I've been asking you to act that way for like 5 years. And all of a sudden they change. And you're like, oh my gosh, maybe they're changed. Maybe they have an epiphany. No, what they realized is all their previous manipulation no longer works. The reason why a narcissist, toxic person changes and becomes different at the last moment is not because they magically figured it out. It's because they knew the whole time and they chose not to give. I'm healing process from my last discard. 4th, by the way, from the same person. She said it's finished for good and sent a text on Saturday saying, how are you? I ignore. Do you know why she texts? Yeah, because it's not finished in her mind. You're still hers. Like she owns you. Like she can make you respond. She can make you interact, all those type of things. So when it comes down to it, there's that ownership piece that a narcissist thinks of, like, you are mine. And so the thing is, she's never going to be finished for good until you're finished for good. Until you put up your boundaries, until you block, she's going to keep coming back because she knows she can. His current partner still calls and texts me. She is aware of all the characteristics of NPD, but is staying. Not sure if I should stay communicating. It's hard to hear they're together. No, you should not stay communicating. It's not helping you grow. We really do not want them, as Ben is saying, change the story to the truth. We want the facade. Yeah. Do they ever really leave you alone? Will they always come back every so often? Okay. A lot of you are coming in and out, so I totally get this, but you guys need to understand this. They will not leave you alone, and the last Hoover attempt is not up to them. It's up to you. Okay. So, like, every time they walk in that door, the reason why they walk in that door is because that door is unlocked. You can't expect them to walk out of your life and stay out of your life. You can't expect them to respect you enough to block you and leave you alone. You can't respect them enough to listen to your wishes and leave you alone. They never did in the relationship. So why do you think they're going to do that now? The final time, the last time they're going to come back in your life is the time that you lock and bolt the door and you say, hey, you're not coming back in. This is my boundary. So I'm no contact. I'm ghosting. Do you think Wake Up Warrior will help a narcissist? Here's the thing. Okay. I've had a couple narcissists go through it. Okay. Wake Up Warrior only helps a person who wants to help themselves. Wake Up Warrior only helps a person who's willing to be honest and willing to be vulnerable. Does that help you work through those? Yes, absolutely. Does that help uncover a lot of things? Yes, absolutely. But if there's that baseline of like, I'm never going to get to that place and I'm not willing to get to that place, it's not going to do anything. You get as much out of it as you put into it. Do I recommend it to every narcissist I talk to? Yes. Do I recommend it to everybody? Yes, because I think it's powerful. It's a powerful way to live. It's a powerful way to change your mindset every single day. And I engage with Wake Up Warrior and all the stuff that I do with that every single day. Helps keep me on track for my quarter, helps keep me on track for what I'm doing in body, business, being in balance every single day. It's huge. 7 times I left him because toxic behavior. He wasn't done with me until the new supply was in the picture. Because they're gonna keep you. They're gonna keep you on tap. They're gonna keep you hooked. No, absolutely. Why waste? Why waste a working model and waste energy when it's not needed? So energy and expectation is it? I don't know that question. Do they pretend not to have a good memory? He would always forget situation where he was flirting and lying about where he was. So with something like that, no. Like they aren't. It's not that they don't have good memory. Like they're just lying. Like that's just all it is. Now there's stuff that's like can be like gaps in memory, but typically that's going to be like not immediate situation. That's going to be like farther in the past and slowly fades at times. And sometimes that's just because they've had so many lies they can't really keep it straight anymore. But a lot of times that accountability piece, they already like know. Do you recommend connecting with past supplies? I feel like I'm the first one who sees him for who he is, which is probably why he resents me a lot for it. So if you know there's past supplies that they're no longer in contact with, I know some people that have had healing in doing something like that and connecting that way. Just be careful. You don't want to get hoovered in or flying monkeyed in or anything like that. So just be careful. But I do know some people that it's helped. He was done with me. He hated me, told me to kill myself. Now I'm unblocked and I can't even get mad at him. Why? Uh, for me, I'd say it's still that story, that you're telling yourself. If you're unblocked, you need to block. You need to be able to start processing and moving with your healing, moving with your growth. Going through divorce only has 2 kids, has the kids 2 weekends a month. Is this him trying to control me? I mean, a lot of times narcissists are going to use the kids in any aspect to try to build a control, try to get a reaction, to try to, make you respond in a certain way. So I would just be careful and beware of that. Do drugs create NPD? If they stop, can it go away? Drugs do not create NPD. NPD is created through trauma, abuse, emotional insecurity, childhood development. Drugs and alcohol could, lower the mask, but they don't cause the NPD. Yeah, so a lot of times, like self-medicating, I would say a lot of times it's sedation, and that's really the purpose of the majority of drugs and alcohol abuse is sedation. And so for a narcissist, they're sedating how they feel. They're sedating like what's going on underneath the surface. My husband and I are separated. He went out on a couple of dates and told me they were beautiful women, but only thought of me during the dates. Now he cries because he missed me. Is this gaslighting? I would say it's probably closer to triangulation of saying like what the women are, and then also gaslighting as well. But like bringing the other women like into it of like telling you about it or telling like whatever happened is also just the idea of like triangulation too. Um, If he cries because he misses you, oh my gosh, how awful. Like, okay, tell him to be a man, like, and like actually change what he's doing. Like, if he wants actual change, then he needs to like get off his butt and actually go to counseling, go to therapy, like work on himself. But at the end of the day, like if you're separated and he's out dating other people, like you shouldn't be in contact with him. It's not helpful for you. After a few months of discard, he introduced his new supply to his parents. We have a kid, been together 12 years. He acts as if nothing happened. So a lot of times they will. They'll box it up, they'll compartmentalize, they'll pass, they'll move on. And you have to realize the reason why they move on so fast is because they don't care. Does that make sense? Like the reason why someone can disengage and move away from you as quick as possible is because there's not that connection there that they actually are willing to fight for or that they're willing to establish. Do they know what they're doing? Typically, I would say majority of narcissists have some level of self-awareness because they know what they're doing because they don't do it to everybody. Set boundaries and enforce them. Yes, absolutely. He always says, I have BPD, no matter what evidence I have to prove is nonsense. Yeah. And the problem is you're going to take forever to try to prove something you already know is true. And you're gonna try to fight for it, saying like, "Hey, like this is something that's false. Like I don't have this. Like this is what actually is going on." And you're gonna spend so much time trying to prove your innocence or prove something that you already know is false of what he's accusing you. And as a result, you don't have any time to be able to focus on you. You don't have any time to focus on the truth of the situation. You don't have any time to focus on like what's actually going on or the lies that he's putting on you. I'm 17, little money, living at the house, aka step parent. So step parent is the narcissist. So if your step parent or parent is the narcissist, let's see, you're on TikTok. So check out Stan Coaching. Abuse is abuse. Both of those. Stan Coaching. It's Catherine Kleiss. She's on there. And Abuse is abuse is Bree. Both of those have narcissistic parents. One a dad and one a mom. But yeah, check out their pages as well. They've got some good content on that. They're also on Instagram, but Instagram, Catherine's under Catherine Kleiss and Bree's under Abuse is Abuse. I know self-medication, but he was different, sober, not so evil. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, I would say a lot of times alcohol removes the mask or lowers the mask, so you see the actual person like underneath. He abandoned me and the kids. He says he damaged me way too much. I divorced him. Now he says I betrayed. Yeah, they're gonna always flip it around. Like I damaged you so much, like we need to go ahead and get a divorce. Then you divorce them. Oh, it's your fault because you divorced. Like all this kind of stuff. They're always gonna twist it around so they don't have to be, um, so they don't have to engage with that. Best co-parenting with a narc on Insta, please. Off the top of my head, I don't know the best co-parenting like person to follow on narcissism on Instagram, but I do know of a really good webinar that's coming up in 2 days on the 2nd, and that is through Lisa Sunny with Stronger Than Before, and she's putting on a webinar. There's was it like a trauma coach, a parenting coach, a like a judge or a lawyer on there as well, like a couple of the different things on there that are really going to be trying to help. So if you want to check that out, click on the link in my bio and you can actually grab the tickets for that. But it's coming up on it's June 2nd. So it's Thursday at 7 p.m. Really excited about that. I think it's going to be really awesome. But yeah. Yeah, if you want to touch base sometime, so I was reading a couple of comments. If you want to touch base sometime, you can go to my website, rawmotivations.com, and you can actually click there to be able to do a one-on-one or have us be able to talk. There's a couple different options there. Check out the Narc app. We've had a lot of different people engage with that. Monday nights, we actually do an exclusive live inside the Narc app that's not broadcasted anywhere. So you can't find it anywhere. And really, that's a safe place for people to be able to come in, ask questions, kind of work through different things. And they know, like, hey, there's no way that anybody can like track this or like look at this. You know, my ex can't be like watching it at the same time or things like that. And we also do like monthly Zoom calls inside the app as well. You sign up through the app, but it's pretty cool. So we were able to engage. We had the other night we had a Zoom call for like the month. It was with like 8 other people. We were able to just have a really awesome time engaging, kind of talking through some stuff, asking questions, getting a time of like coaching and like development. And as you move forward, we're going to start having those more towards the beginning of the month. Is our first one, so we're kind of moving them back to the beginning of the month. That way we can kind of set the tone and set the idea and set the focus, the intentionality, because it's so often like as you get out of these relationships, as you get out of the craziness, it's like, what's next? And we have to start living life intentional to be able to live, to heal, to work on ourselves, to work on growing. And that intentionality is like so key. So that's something that we're working on inside the Narc app. There's a couple changes, couple updates coming. One, we have the exclusive lives on Monday, every single Monday night, 9:30 to 10:30 p.m. inside the Narc app as a safe place for survivors. We also have the monthly Zoom call that's coming up every single month. The next one is June 20th. If you go on the Narc app, you can actually sign up there. You can sign up for any coaching, anything like that inside the Narc app as well. Coming up, there's going to be a couple things that's coming out where we're actually going to be putting more discounts and stuff inside the Narc app. So like if you have the app, it's going to be cheaper for you to, you know, book either a one-on-one or coaching packages. We're working on developing all that kind of stuff through the app than it is even on the website. So we're trying to continue to build that engagement and just like build that community. So we need that there. So the Narc app you can get on Google Play or on the App Store. It's just type in Narc, N-A-R-C. It's an acronym. It stands for Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community, NARC. But you can find that on the App Store or on Google Play, or you can even access it on the web. And some people do that as well. But yeah, so that's some of the options out there. We've been trying to work on building more options for growth and development, more options to help people learn, heal, and track their growth, keep track of how long they've been no contact, so they keep that accountability that like I need to make sure like I'm gonna get checked on. Like I need to make sure I'm staying no contact. A good place to have people like record their truth, you know, even like logging like what's going on. If any of you guys live in the Virginia area, coming up June 12th, So it's, I guess 2 weeks from yesterday, June 12th, myself, Lee Hammock, Mental Healness, and actually our families. So our wives and our kids actually are going to be in Virginia Beach, Virginia. We're working on finalizing the last like location and stuff like that to do like a meet and greet. To try to interact with different people, to engage with different people that you know want to just meet in person, want to talk. You know, so we're gonna find a location. We're like locking it down right now, and then we're gonna be there for a couple hours, just to be able to meet and greet people, kind of talk through some stuff. So, but yeah, you're in Richmond, Virginia. Awesome. Yeah, so put in your calendar June 12th. Right now we're trying to solidify the location, but it's going to be June 12th. I think we're shooting around like 3 o'clock. So if you want to make a quick trip over, we'd love to see you. But yeah, anyways, thank you all so much. Appreciate it. So keep an eye out for that. So June 12th, we're doing that. June 2nd is the co-parenting the webinar. So check that out. Link is in the bio. If you guys are around, regular live nights are Monday nights inside the app. Zoom calls once a month with the app subscribers. And then I'm on Wednesday nights. Actually, quick tip, quick sneak preview, because we haven't even announced this. This Wednesday coming up, we're going to have more people on our Wednesday night call. So if you've watched it all, typically Wednesday nights from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. on either my YouTube or Lee Hammock's YouTube, we normally do a question answer time. We put it out there to a couple other people. So don't quote me yet, but I think we're having like multiple people join us. Like you might see up to like 10. So 10 up to like 10 creators that are on are in the Narc Talk community on different platforms and everything like that that are excited to be able to engage and work with you. Some of these are coaches, some of these are psychologists, book writers, like all different kinds of things. All 10 of them might be a little too crazy. We're gonna see. But I like texted a couple people, and like a lot more people responded to what I thought. So that's just a tidbit. Like we haven't announced that. Nobody really knows that's coming, but that's gonna be on Wednesday, this Wednesday night, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. on YouTube. This week it's on my YouTube. So go to Raw Motivations. It'll be there. Next week will be on Lee's. We're just doing the first month. We're inviting like more people, and then the rest of the month it's going to be Lee and myself kind of going back and forth, answering questions. But Wednesday, every night, every Wednesday, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern time, and then I'm normally on Thursdays from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern time as well. Just to be like transparent, like I'm kind of thinking about like another idea that I've been thinking about for a little while, but I'm just trying to figure out a time and if it's going to work to be able to kind of launch it. But it'd be the idea of going live on probably YouTube and putting a link in the bio that people could actually click the link and they could actually join the live. So like just how you've seen me do like a dual live or something like that, where people could join the live and they could basically like pop in, like ask a question, get a response or so, and then like leave. So I guess you could almost say like kind of like a call-in type thing, but it would be like on video. You wouldn't have to like download anything and be all through like web-based and everything to make it easy. But that's something I've been debating about and kind of like throwing around the idea. If I do it, I want to try to launch it and do it really well. So it'd be probably right now, if I did that, it'd be like Monday through Saturday for like an hour a day. And so I've definitely like been thinking about that. I have not looked into Clubhouse. I know a lot of people that have talked about it. That's one, I guess, venue in one sense I have not looked into at all. I don't know anything about it. But yeah, that's a good thought. It's a good question. Yeah, mark your calendar for June 12th. Absolutely. Teenage daughters to deal with a covert narcissist father. So the biggest part is if you guys are, if they're going back and forth, one of the biggest things is like, how do you work on supporting them? Supporting who they are, how they're growing, how they're developing, supporting them emotionally so they feel safe, being honest with them, not covering up his abuse, not trauma dumping, but not covering up his abuse as well. Until they're at the place where they can just go with one parent. That's something that you have to really work on. But yeah, if y'all want to talk sometime individually, where we can kind of work through the trauma bond, work through the story that's in your head, kind of work on that, definitely reach out to me. So rawmotivations.com, and I've got the one-on-one coaching on there. How can you tell your kid about his father's real personality? Be honest. It doesn't mean you have to like trauma dump and say like, oh, they're the awful, most shadiest person in the world, but just say like, hey, this is the actions that they're doing. Like, they decided they weren't going to care, and so they left. Like, obviously you have to kind of take a look and see like how old your kid is to be able to know like what's going to make the most sense. But what you have is a lot of times parents that cover up for the other person, that eventually like the kids find out or they know. And oftentimes it makes it worse, to be honest. So I'll be really careful with that. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. It's good to be able to see you guys. Thank you guys so much. So I'm gonna be jumping off here. So I logged on for about an hour because I didn't have a appointment for this hour. Kind of start doing that every once in a while. I'll either be like recording videos or jump on lives for a couple minutes whenever I don't have an appointment. So right now, typically my schedule is like anywhere from like 5 a.m. Eastern time to like 4 p.m. Eastern time. That's normally when I do appointments and talk to people. So anyways, I think that's it. Good to be able to talk to you guys. So if you guys want to interact, rawmotivations.com. Otherwise, see you guys on Wednesday night. Be live Wednesday night. Also Thursday night will be live. Thursday night is also the webinar coming up, Stronger Than Before. Links in the bio. How to keep your sanity when dealing with a toxic ex. Thank y'all so much. Gonna go ahead and start signing off. Appreciate it. All right, and y'all have a great rest of your day, great rest of your Tuesday.